First, thank you to Chris Bishop for arranging today's visit and getting me out to the hut once again. It is great to be in Petone today to announce the next stage of National's plan to get New Zealand working. Today's policy is called Business Start. It is the companion policy to Job Start that we launched in West Auckland in late May. As we gather here today, New Zealand faces its worst economic downturn for 160 years. That's not me saying it, that's what the Reserve Bank says. Right now, around 200,000 New Zealanders are on unemployment benefits. Another 400,000 jobs are at risk, being kept alive through the wage subsidy scheme, which ends on the 1st of September, the day before overseas voting begins. By Christmas, as many as 500,000 Kiwis may be unemployed. All of us will know someone who loses their job, and it could be you. Business Start is a bold step forward. Kiwis are entrepreneurs. We are a nation of small businesses. Setting up a small business, giving people the freedom to be their own boss. I know I did it myself. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. And economically, the best thing about small businesses is that they can grow at a much faster rate than big business. It's hard for a big business to double its size. It's not so hard for a small or sole trader to hire a mate. National's Business Start is to help those who have lost their job since the 1st of March 2020, or who lose their jobs in the months ahead, to set up their own small businesses. We're going to make at least $30,000 available to you to help do it, to buy your kit, to make sure you have some working capital, and to lower your taxes in the early stages as you start to become successful. Here's how we'll do it. Here's how Business Start works. First, pretty much all Kiwis have one business idea or another. We want to harness your ideas to get you and us all through that crisis. What we are going to do is this. For Kiwis who have lost their jobs since the 1st of March, plus those who lose them in the months ahead, National will give you a $1,000 voucher for you to get proper financial advice from an accountant or a registered financial advisor on your ideas. We'll put together a genuine and viable business plan and have you set up on systems like MYOB and Xero. When your plan is signed off by your accountant or registered financial advisor, you're eligible for the second part of Business Start. We'll let you withdraw up to $20,000 from your KiwiSaver account to get your business going. It's your money that you've put aside for a rainy day. Well, if you've lost your job, it's not raining, it's pouring. A lot of that KiwiSaver money is sitting in default funds. And another big hunk of it is being held in foreign shares. National says it may be more valuable to you, invested in your own business. It's your choice whether you leave it with the fund managers or you invest it yourself. We know people will criticise us for this. We want them to tell us why it's better for Kiwis to have their money invested in Wall Street than in their own Kiwi High Street. We will also incentivise Business Start recipients to return the money to their KiwiSaver accounts when they can. Their future KiwiSaver contributions will be tax-free until they've repaid the amount they took out. The second thing we'll do is, if you have been made redundant, is to give you the entire taxed portion of your redundancy as a tax credit with the IRD. If your redundancy is, say, $150,000, that could be as much as $50,000 tax credit. You'll then be able to use that to pay GST or your provisional tax when you start making a profit. But we think Business Start should be for all New Zealanders who lose their job. So for everyone else who becomes eligible for having their business plan signed off, National will give you a $10,000 tax credit, $5,000 on day one and another $5,000 after 90 days. We will also pay your company office registration fee of $130 if you choose that structure for your business. With your approved business plan, your $20,000 and your tax credit, we're sure the banks will compete to give you a decent banking finance package for any additional capex and working capital you need. And remember, like all business owners, Business Start recipients will be able to write off new investment of up to $150,000 for each new asset instantly under National's previously announced policy. Running a small business is still not for the faint-hearted. That's why Business Start also includes a new $10 million contestable fund for additional advisors for the likes of Chambers of Commerce, Employers and Manufacturers Associations and Business Mentors New Zealand to pitch for. Business Start recipients will be able to get that mentoring free. What we then want is for Business Start recipients to be confident enough to take on a mate using Job Start. That's another $10,000 if you do that. As I said, Job Start was originally planned to end on the 31st of March 2021. I'm now extending it until 31st of March 2022, the same time period Business Start will be available. National plans 17 months of an entrepreneurial and job growth explosion during the toughest times any of us have ever known. We're using a combination of KiwiSaver money, tax credits and taxpayer money to back you. No government creates jobs. You, the business owners of New Zealand, do that. National wants there to be more business owners, more of you. National wants to back you as we back ourselves and your mates to get this country working again. Thank you for listening.
Where is that taxpayer money?
Where it always comes from, actually. It comes to the taxpayer. There is borrowings, obviously, but there is an ability to actually get that going, just as we do with the the wage subsidy, where the government has borrowed $13 billion to keep that wage subsidy going just for a few months. The money that we're talking about here is significantly less. In fact, you might want to talk about that, Andrew, who is our small business and manufacturing spokesperson.
So we've committed $500 million to the Job Start scheme, and we've announced that previously, and so that's about making sure we get 50,000 new people employed in New Zealand.
From the COVID Recovery Fund?
Yes.
But what about the money? I mean, that doesn't include this money, does it? That's just the Job Start policy, or does this cover this new policy as well?
Well, this is part of that policy.
Yes, but so there is a part of that total figure, the part of the total
Yes.
500 million.
Yeah.
With that with giving people back the tax and their redundancies, could you backdate it, or would it only, for people who lost their jobs in the last few months?
Well, we said the 1st of March is we were working from, if you've got that.
So
If you're going into the scheme. Yeah.
So anyone, just to be clear, Benedict, anyone who's been made redundant can take out their existing KiwiSaver amount up to the value of $25,000. But what we want to do is incentivise people to use the money that they earn over time to reinvest back into their KiwiSaver. That's the tax-free portion that we're going to allow them to reinvest back as on a tax-free basis.
There was criticism of the government's benefit scheme for putting a date on 1st of March, and if you lost your job, was even covered. Is it an arbitrary date, and is it fair to those people who might have been early casualties of COVID?
Well, the awful thing is with any scheme, you have to have dates where things start. And what we know is that those who are the most seriously affected are those who've lost their jobs once the COVID lockdowns actually started. And this is not a policy that's going to be there for 5 years. We believe it'll be 17 months. It's a relatively short-term policy to deal with a crisis, and that crisis is mass unemployment.
However, anyone who uses their KiwiSaver funds basically gets a taxpayer subsidy for how many nth years until that's paid back by the taxpayer. So it's not coming out of their fund eventually.
Yeah.
What onus on those businesses is there to show that they've actually succeeded in business, or is there the room for failure and they still get that subsidy for several years after that?
But it's their money.
It's their money. It's not our money.
No, but the taxpayer will fund it because it's tax-free. So
No,
there'll be a tax-free contribution.
Up to now, if you're putting money into your KiwiSaver account, that comes out of your after-tax savings, right? And so that already those people pay tax. What we're saying is, if they choose to reinvest back into their KiwiSaver account, we will allow them to do it on a tax-free basis. But they've paid tax on the money going into their KiwiSaver account.
So how is that helping them if there's no tax benefit to them?
Well, it's not about tax benefit. The tax benefit is to deal with the issue of people taking out a portion of their KiwiSaver to invest in their business. If they're successful in their business, we want to incentivise people to continue to invest for their future. And so we're saying to them, if you're earning money in that business, you can take that and put it back into your KiwiSaver account on a tax-free basis.
Would you allow other people to do that then if they were facing similar financial difficulties, that not in the business setting? Would that be something that could be extended to people to pay off a mortgage or, you know, cover bills, for example?
Well, we're just talking about
We're just talking about one policy today. And of course, we're very aware of the situation that many New Zealanders are facing, economic ruin, and they are asking for some solutions, possible solutions. For some, this will be something that will help them make their own choices about whether or not they want to start their own business. There are many people who would like to use this one.
Most startup businesses fail, so are you happy for people to use their retirement savings?
You know, I'm not sure that they really do. There's always these statistics. I've had 3 startup businesses myself. They haven't failed. They've been very successful. I think it's very important to remember that many businesses, they start up, and if there is a failure, it's often around provisional tax and terminal tax payments that tend to take them out, which is why the tax credit that we've got, where they will be able to, if they've got redundancy payments, will be able to use that for provisional tax or taxes, will help them. But the other thing is sometimes businesses start up, they get going, and then they sell out, so that ends that business. But you know, that's what happens.
But we are concerned about. Remember, this is a voluntary scheme. So the first part is to make sure that you get proper advice from an accountant or a certified financial planner. So if someone rocks up to one of those people and says, "Look, I'm going to set up a business," and they've got no idea about it, we will make sure that they're getting the right proper professional advice, and hopefully at that point they shouldn't be setting up a business. But for people who've been made redundant, pilots or whatever, highly skilled, no prospect of a decent job, a lot of those people have a lot of skills and never thought about setting up a new job, business. This is a way for them to change their vocation into something that they control. We want to make sure they've got proper advice at the outset. Then, of course, they've got the ability to get the different amounts, not only the KiwiSaver, but the $10,000. And they will also have to probably put up their own money. We expect them to do that. And so it's not for everyone. It's certainly not for the faint-hearted. But we want to make sure that people who've been made redundant, who've got the right skills, have the opportunity to create their own new lives.
Okay, but a financial downturn is a particularly difficult time to start up a new business. Would you recommend that someone starts a business?
Many people do, and in fact one of the ways that people can often do it is that they can often really cut their own costs at such a time. When you're starting up your own business, you often decide you don't need all the bells and whistles, and you can actually just be more mobile, get around, see people. I mean, if you're working in the plumbing or something like that, and you're found that you're being made redundant because of a downturn, what you can sometimes do is you can often you don't have to pay someone else, you don't have to pay for the overheads as much. You just got to pay for yourself, and that you can actually do it. And that's why so many people in New Zealand do set up small businesses, and so many are actually very successful. I think we should not give up on people just because they're being made redundant. We should be looking to say to people, if you've got the skills, you've got the entrepreneurial spirit, you want to take a risk on yourself, or we want to back you to do that. But as Andrew says, you've got to have the business plan, you've actually got to have something sensible, and otherwise it's not going to work.
It's fair to say this is for a small group of people though, right? I mean, the criteria you're listing, there's not vast swathes of the unemployed in the country that can do this.
Well, I don't think you're right at all. I totally disagree with you. We've got 200,000 people at the moment who are unemployed, that we are on benefits, that many of those would not have been there otherwise. But we've also got 360,000 people on wage subsidy jobs, and those jobs, a big chunk of those may well become no longer in work. That doesn't mean to say that they don't have skills. That just means that those jobs aren't there. If you're in the tourism industry, if you're, as Andrew said, a pilot, if you're someone who's been cabin crew, these are all people who, lawyers I know of, highly skilled people who are really intelligent people who can quickly move their skills into something else. But let's give them a chance and not just write them off.
What are your positions on the current government settings, the wage subsidy, and
Do you want to talk to
the benefit settings as well? Because not everyone is going to be able to
No.
take advantage of this. So what about everyone else? And would you keep them, extend them? What are your thoughts on the border package?
Well, there's no doubt that the government had to put up a financial package, and so the idea around the wage subsidy has been good. It's been a good level of support. But the question is, what happens on the 1st or the 2nd of September? Where's the plan? What we're trying to do is when that wage subsidy ends, and it will have to end at some stage. We've spent $13 billion on it so far. At some point, even the government's going to have to say we have to stop it. What we're looking past that point and saying, okay, we've got a couple of 100,000 people now employed. How do we help them actually get back into a work? And basically what we're saying is, why should we be denying those people the opportunity to create their own business, to employ themselves and hopefully other people, and get out there and recreate their lives after being devastated by being made redundant?
Ms. Collins, though, do you support the two-tier benefit system at the moment, and would you extend that if necessary? Because as you've flagged, there are going to be more and more people coming onto that system.
We'll be making announcements on that in due course. So we're making an announcement today, and that is not the announcement we're making today.
What's your position, just from the National Party, on the two-tier system that exists already
Well,
under the government?
our policy is that it will be announced in due course.
You don't have a position?
No, we have our own position, and we will be announcing policy in due course.
So you don't have any view on the two-tier benefit system at the moment that's already in place?
No, you shouldn't put words in my mouth. I'm very happy to say that we'll be making announcements in due course, and that's the right place to do them.
But I'm asking you for a position on a current government policy.
We have
that is
supported.
significant and is
We
relevant
have
to
to
the
date.
system that
We
you're making.
we have to date supported the government position on a wage subsidy because we believed that something needed to be put in place. It's no different from what we did in Christchurch with the after the earthquakes. We did exactly the same thing. But the issue is that wage subsidy comes off on the 1st of September, and that's then gone. It's $13 billion has already been borrowed, and no plan seems to be in place from the government.
But you're not
We're
willing
putting
to
out
back
today.
the two-tier benefit system at
No,
the moment?
what I'm happy to say is that we will be announcing our policy on that in due course, and it will not be today. Today is this announcement. No.
Are you not happy to endorse the benefit system?
I'm not happy to make policy announcements today other than this one. No, happy
Your
to.
idea for a new business that you would spend $20,000 on?
If I had one, well, I don't think I'm going to be needing one just yet, but if I had one, I'd probably set up a fabulous communications business.
Do you really expect people to be able to come up with an idea for a new business during an economic recession that will be profitable?
Yes, absolutely. That's when you do it.
Yeah, I think you're terribly unambitious. Most people are always thinking about business ideas. We have 60,000 new businesses created every year in New Zealand. People always think about new business opportunities. And actually, in times like this, there are opportunities. Everyone thinks you only set up a business in good times. Actually, this is a good time to set it up.
A charging regime potentially announced very, very shortly. If the
For the
government
border
opts
quarantine?
into
Yeah,
quarantine,
okay, yep.
well.
We can talk about that.
sorry,
What are they doing now?
So the charging regime for the quarantine, we expect an announcement soon.
Yes.
If the government is quite limited in its approach and sort of settles on people who choose to leave and come back as opposed to everyone, would you want to push that further under a national government?
Yes, we've made it very plain that we believe that we do actually have to have a charging regime for returning people to New Zealand, and that is around the quarantine system. It's currently costs about $4,000 for each person coming here, and New Zealand taxpayers cannot afford to continue to pay that where there are opportunities to get some recovery. And we've been very plain about it. We've also said, though, that there needs to be exemptions on compassionate and financial and medical grounds, because ultimately we are talking about New Zealanders coming home, and we need to be able to help them where we can.
And you see it as a financial issue as opposed to anything else in terms of
Well-
managing numbers or anything like
Well,
that?
no, to us it's very important that when people are losing their jobs in places like Papakura and Pukekohe, that we are, in Rotorua and the Hut, that we are actually being very careful with their money, and that we they don't want to be seeing another, the government's advised it's costing him close to $300 million by December to be paying for all this quarantine. We do need to get some cost recovery where it's possible.
When you say New Zealanders, you mean all New Zealanders returning across the border?
We've made it very plain. We've made it very plain except for exemptions, and we understand that there will always be exemptions for compassionate financial or medical reasons.
Do you think Hamish Walker has taken the mickey out of taxpayers by continuing to keep the salary?
No, you know what? Hamish Walker is keeping me absolutely up to date on his work in the electorate, and it is my decision that he has got leave to do that. It's a very large electorate, and he is keeping me informed, and I'm happy that he's doing his job.
Are you saying that he's still working in the electorate? Are you saying he's
Well, as an electorate MP, let me tell you, very little of the work of the electorate MP is done in the office. Most of it is done out and about. In fact, he was at visiting a gully in Milford Sound area the other day, and I have, and we've been talking about it. So I'm very happy with the way that he's getting around the electorate and visiting people and informing me of what's going on. That's my decision as the leader, and I'll stick to that.
And you're happy for him to be representing.
Do you think it's reasonable that he doesn't get
I'm doing the media interviews instead. No, he's fine. He's doing his job.
So are you?
Ask about other people from the other side. Look, he's fine.
So are you happy for him to be representing National when you're at the moment down in the South?
Well, he is representing National in Clutha Southland. He made a very, very serious error for which he has paid a price of his political career in a seat that he would otherwise have been elected for, in my opinion. And he's already paid that price. He's a relatively young man, and I feel he's paid a very serious price. There are other MPs who've paid serious prices. He has too, and he doesn't get the chance to come back into Parliament.
How are
He made a
candidate
very
selections
serious
going
error,
in
but he's
Clutha?
still on full pay and he's only done part of his job.
Well, he's actually doing his job. If I give him leave to be working in his electorate and I'm satisfied he's doing it, then he is doing his job, and I have made that decision and I will stick by it.
Will he be able to get the business start package?
If he fell within this, but I don't think he's a COVID-19 redundancy. I don't think that quite works for it. But I would think that I think it's important not to end up the state of bullying someone who has been in a situation where he has lost his career for a very unwise mistake, and I'm not going to stand by and let that happen.
How are the candidate selections going in electorates like Clutha South?
Yeah.
Rangitata?
You know, our biggest trouble with these is there's so many people want to be MPs for us, which is fabulous. It's a great problem to have.
Isn't it a rush to be rushing these candidate selections, especially given
Pumps and
William Woods
Naughties.
yesterday, for example? You know, is that a problem for National?
No, when we haven't rushed them, sometimes we have ended up with unhelpful decisions, and I don't think it's just the time frame. I think it's very important that we trust people to get on with the jobs. It's important to understand that every political party has the odd issue to deal with from time to time, particularly a party with the largest number of MPs in Parliament. But having dealt with them, I would have thought people should be very pleased with that.
Is it ever okay to campaign dirty?
Well, no, it's not actually, and I would have thought that the bullying of William Wood, our candidate in Palmerston North, has been very nasty and dirty.
Oh, probably, yeah.
The 14-year-old making a very foolish mistake and then apologising for it. He's been now, I think, targeted and bullied, and I will not stand for that either.
What is your definition of dirty politics?
I think it's when things are either very unfair or going back to someone's very long time past and using it like that. So I think that's very unfair.
I don't think it's a long time past when he's now 18 years old.
He was 14. Anyone who's been a mother or father of a 14-year-old boy will understand, or girl will understand, that they will occasionally make mistakes, and no one expects them to come back later. I thought it was a shocking attack on a young man who has really grown up. The fact he went straight away yesterday and apologised for his mistake at 14, I thought showed immense maturity, and I would like to say to him, look, don't worry, we've got your back.
Have you heard anything of the Herald report? I mean, it might come out.
I understand it's coming out soon, but I don't have it.
Have you heard any of the results?
Not really. I've heard that it's coming out, but I haven't seen it. So I presume that the governments they asked for it, so they will see it first. It would be nice if they let us see it.
And you haven't
Did you
spoken to
or
the
the
inquiry?
No, I haven't spoken to the inquiry. No.
Did you or Mr. Muller or any of the leadership team were you interviewed or part of?
No, I wasn't. I don't think Mr. Muller was either. So I'm not sure that we were. But you'd need to ask Mr. Muller and Nikki Kay. They were the leaders and deputy leader. But certainly I haven't been interviewed, and nor would I expect to be.
So from your knowledge, no one in National's been interviewed for it so far?
I don't know. I don't know who's been interviewed.
When does Tom Muller come back to Parliament?
When he's well. So I've said to him that if he can, that's great. But he, as you know, has had quite a serious health issue, and I've been speaking to him each week to check on how he's going, and he's really improving. But I've said he knows exactly that he's got a great place to come back to, and he will. And I'm not going to pressure him when he clearly has had to deal with a very serious health issue.
But you are confident that he's up to.
He will be, absolutely. He will be. Yeah. People sometimes do have health issues, and if they're given the right assistance and support, then they can overcome them. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for being interested. And as Chris Bishop says, thanks for being in the hut. Love to have you here. I love cars. You know I'm a petrol head, don't you? I'm thinking of getting an electric though.
You follow me.
Well, I could always follow you, dear. Or you could follow me. Yes, I know. I just got to get a plug.